Hey Jay,
Well, hey, Natalie.
how are you doing today?
Just hanging out, doing my thing.
You know, I thought what a perfect day to record a podcast, and
I
I have the most amazing person for our listeners.
am so excited.
You know who we have with us today?
No, it's a surprise.
It's Doreen.
Oh,
Doreen,
not Doreen.
Doreen is a bestie for the sisters. I have to
True.
tell everybody she is an absolute bestie. And I met Doreen back in November, and we have so many similarities in our caregiving story. And I can't wait for her to confess because this is going to be so good. Doreen, we are excited to have you. And so, Jay, why don't you tell our folks to a little bit more about Doreen?
I would be honored. First of all, I will toss out that Doreen is an excellent cook.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
not even part of.
It's not even
her,
part of
her-
caregiving.
No, it's just I want to throw that out there. And Doreen taught me how to make pie shells, so that is
Oh, it was
pie
so
crust.
good.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that was totally off topic. So I'm going to get serious here, Natalie and Doreen. Doreen has spent 40 years, over 40 years in the IT industry, most notably at IBM. Her sales, marketing, and business development roles have taken her to 44 countries, managing over 100 employees that resided in 19 countries. So she's been a little bit everywhere. She's done a lot, but then there was caregiving for Doreen. It is the unpaid role she's been in for over 15 years. Between Crohn's disease, cancer, Parkinson's, and dementia, she and her family have embraced their loved ones through very tough times. This is a story about community and friendship today, guys, advocacy, and my favorite, which comes directly from Doreen, empathy and common sense in institutions. And it's about common sense. Doreen, we are so happy to have you because you are all about some common sense and just getting things done. So that's what these sisters love about you most.
Oh my God, I love the two of you so much. And common sense, it's somewhere got lost along the way. I don't know. We're trying to figure out how we get it back into the equation.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So, Doreen, you have quite the caregiving story. Again, Doreen and I met over LinkedIn back in November because you have been caring for your mom, right? And caring for your husband, Mike, who we also love. And it's a family affair for caregiving with you guys. And so I'd love for you to kind of bring us up to speed about like when did caregiving really kind of come in to like tell us your story. Tell us your story about caregiving.
Well, both. Thank you guys. I love you two so much. And I never had a sister. I have three brothers, all older. And of course, you mentioned my two sons. And I IBM. So most of my life has been all male dominated, and meeting the two of you. And I have to still meet Emily. Emily, don't keep on hiding from me. I'm waiting for you. Anyway, I just love the two of you, and I wish I could be with you guys every day. You make it so wonderful. So, all right. So caregiving. Yeah. So it started, as moms, we are natural caregivers for, the cuts and bruises and all the things that we have throughout our lives, right? With our children, whatnot. But real caregiving comes into play when there's a lot of things that you just are not in control of. And so it started for me with my mom. My mom was living in Pennsylvania. And always lived in Pennsylvania, never lived outside of Pennsylvania. And she started to started to have some shaking going on. And so we finally got her diagnosed after quite a few years of doctors, neurologists just weren't getting us where we needed to be. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And it actually started out more of an essential tremor. And my mom being the homemaker most of her life and being of Italian descent, her thing was cooking and baking and crafts and yard work. So when you start to have shaking in your hands, it really puts a knife into your life. And, so she living independently because she came from a very abusive husband environment and was single for, oh my gosh, 40 years at that point. Wow. Yeah.
How old was your mom when she got diagnosed?
She was 74-ish.
Okay, so that's good to know. All right, so your mom had been living independently in PA up until, and you're living in New York, right?
Yeah, close enough. I'm in a
Close
suburb
enough.
of New York called New Jersey.
Oh, in New Jersey. Sorry. I just consider New York and New
Okay.
Jersey very similar.
Different state, Natalie. It's okay,
A whole
Doreen. We'll cut her
different
some
state, but
slack.
New Jersey is, but we have to face it. We're just a suburb of New York. Anyway, yeah. So my mom was in her 70s and living alone in a townhome that had all steps, this is,
Oh gosh.
and but very fiercely independent. And so one day she called me and she was in tears because she didn't think she could do it anymore. She fell. And
Oh
so
gosh.
we drove out. It's an 8-hour drive, and pretty much loaded her up in the car and brought her to New Jersey. What are you gonna do? I'm working full time. My husband's working full time. You got the kids, baseball, football, all that stuff going on.
So were they teenagers?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the boys were teenagers when your mom came. Did you have a conversation with your mom, or did you basically go kidnap her?
Kidnapper.
Okay,
So,
and did you talk to your brothers?
I was going to say, did you talk to your brothers? Did they say, yeah, just go get mom, or did
Yeah. I mean, some of them just wanted me to put her in a home.
Okay.
Oh,
I wasn't ready for that at all.
I
Okay.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was, at that time, she's still mentally still there and walking. She wasn't using a walker or anything at that point, right? It was
Okay.
still
Right.
ages, but she just knew that she couldn't deal with the steps and that it was it was scary, the shaking and so forth. And she
Right.
refused medication, a little minor detail.
So she refused medication. Okay. Okay, keep going.
So I brought her back here and we were doing okay. I mean, she was grocery shopping with me and cooking and baking. It was kind of kind of fun having a sister in the house.
Yeah.
And but she refused to take pills. And I got her to neurologists, 5 different neurologists. So we found one that we really felt was right for her.
Yeah.
And just refused to take pills. So we got a major argument, and she went back to Pennsylvania. I didn't tell you guys that before. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So my one brother came, picked her up and brought her back and put her into a assisted living at that point. And that didn't go so well. She kept a sign on her door, "Keep out." And
I do love Dolores.
She's got some spunk.
Doreen's mom is Dolores, and she is quite the sassy woman. She knows
Yeah.
what she wants, in my opinion. So keep going, Doreen. Okay. So your brother comes back and takes her, puts her in an assisted living. So is this what Dolores wanted?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
because we were just not, we couldn't agree. I needed her to take pills. I needed her.
So the medication was like a deal breaker for you.
It was a deal breaker for me.
Okay.
And so she went back, and I have another brother, I have 3 brothers, as I mentioned, that lived literally 5 minutes away from that home. He never even went to visit her. So typical, I know this happens a lot with siblings, right? There's the one that kind of falls into play as being the caregiver, and then you have different degrees. Some do the financial aspect, some do whatever, right? So I ended up doing everything for the most part.
Yeah.
But so after 11 months, the home was having troubles with her because she was antisocial. And so I brought her back. And so this was it the 3rd U-Haul? I'm really good at driving U-Haul trucks. If anybody.
We need a discount on U-Haul for Doreen.
U-Haul would like to sponsor us. So Doreen, so did you have a conversation with your mom to say, "I'd like for you to come back," or did the facility tell you that your mom it was not working out and you had to do something? Like what kind of conversation are you having? Because I mean, you're working with a person who your mom was able to still make independent decisions on her own. So what was that like?
She wasn't getting along. She was very aggressive with the staff.
Right.
She wasn't letting them in. She wasn't letting them touch her. She wasn't letting them. All the meals were being brought to her room. She very much became, set aside from everybody. And yet her shaking was getting really bad to a point where now it started to go into her feet. So originally shaking was in her hands. Then it started going into her legs. So now it was really declared as Parkinson's. Originally, it was more of essential tremors. And so we need to get her on the pills because as we all know, the carbidopa-levodopa really helps with the tremors. And so she finally agreed. And so we packed her up. She did agree. So we came back. Now,
I have a question, Doreen. You're coming back. Doreen, are you still working during all this time?
Oh, good question.
Minor detail.
It's never a minor detail.
You
Are
know,
you working?
I just want to go 40 years in IT, 44 countries, you're traveling, and the 100 employees. So are you working?
Yeah, I was a manager at that point. I had a team. And
okay. I had a team.
yeah. And of course the boys were very active in school.
I was going to say the boys are playing football, doing their thing. And Mike, you're still married. Yeah.
You still happen to be married by this time.
Yeah. Still married, same man. So
yeah. And Mike was working full time as well. So
okay.
we were all, yeah. So, and we had no dog, by the way, no dog at that point. So.
Okay.
So yeah, working full time at IBM, and IBM very supportive. Great from that perspective, right? Of course, it all depends on your management team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, working full time, and so brought mom back, and we had added on to the house, so she had now her own space, her own suite, her own bathroom, her own kitchenette. So made it much more her apartment, if you will.
Yeah.
And I really helped out a lot for her to have that level of independence that she loved, because she wanted to be in her own room watching her own TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we got her on pills. Neurologist was fantastic. We took her into Manhattan, top notch, but mom just was not going to cooperate. She'd take the pills, but that's it. She wasn't going to do any of the exercising. Wasn't going to do any of the other wonderful things that are available that they're learning about. Parkinson's is, continues to be so much they're learning. Michael J. Fox Foundation and the Brain Association are just doing tremendous things there. Anyway, the mom was still very combative when it came to doing anything more. So she lived here, and my brothers would come and visit every now and then, maybe once a year. They're living out of state, so I get that, right? And they have their own families, and they're very busy as well. One's in Texas, one's in Ohio, and one's in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And so mom progressed. In the meantime, my husband, he had Crohn's disease since he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He had multiple operations, been in and out of hospitals our entire marriage. He's had, I think, side effects from Crohn's. He had over 50 kidney stones.
So my gosh.
God bless you. We love you, Mike.
Oh my gosh.
Had 8 hernias, 6 at one time. And so, because the intestines just cause havoc in your body.
Yeah.
And so he had a lot of issues with the Crohn's. Well, in one time we were in New York City at a hospital for 7 days. They had to do a colostomy because his intestines were just not cooperating. And in doing so, when they put that baby in, they diagnosed him with rectal cancer, which was in there for years, actually, just was hiding. It was being disguised by the Crohn's.
Right.
So now that's where I think, Natalie, our story started to coincide, because we were at a local hospital here in New Jersey, great hospital. The doctor said, look, he says, we may do one of these operations a week. Sloan Kettering probably does 5 a day.
Right.
And they brought us to Sloan. They got us into the doctors. And it was that saved his life, because it wasn't a very good diagnosis. And so he was in Sloan for the 10 days. We had 3 doctors, a 9-hour operation. It was pretty.
Where's your mom? Where's your mom at that point? Is she at the house?
My boys are like.
There you go.
So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, JJ. So I'm not the only caregiver in the house. In fact, we should just change our last name as caregivers, because
the family of care.
My 2 sons, wow. And now I know why they never went to the medical field, though, because they were doing so much of it at home. So yeah, both my boys can take care of my mother better than me. They are really good with my husband. They're really, really good. And so now my husband comes home, helping him. I'm working full time, got my mom. The boys one's in college at that point, but only at Rutgers, so right around the corner. And we do what we have to do, and it's a family affair.
It is a family affair. I think, Doreen, I guess that's my question, because I remember trying to support, like I was in New York and I was working with Jason and trying to support him. And I'm talking to JJ and Emily, who are supporting our mom at the same time. And it does sound very similar, because JJ and Emily took the lead, and it sounds like the boys were helping help you, and then of course help Mike, their dad. And so how did it interfere into work for you? Did the boys pick up enough so that you're able to still try to be as present as you can? Because you had a position where you traveled to many countries. How did that work? And what was that like from an employer standpoint?
Is there FMLA? Have you taken time off, or are you working at your laptop?
So I had a senior executive at IBM pull me aside one day, said, "Hey, I heard about your mom and Mike. Why don't you take a leave of absence? IBM is really good with those kinds of things." And I never had my manager mention to me or anybody else, but this.
Wow.
And so I looked into it, and sure enough, I took it was 3 months leave of absence, which really helped just to kind of get things reset at home, because it became a very different life, right? My husband wasn't working. He was in recovery mode. My mom was starting to digress. I started to have to get PT, OT, and speech therapists coming into the house and scheduling all of that. I started to have an aide come in once a day just to help out with, getting dressed and showering, that kind of thing. So it's just a lot of management of a lot of different moving parts.
Wow.
So that helped the leave of absence. And I did end up, the boss I left to do my leave of absence hated me. I swear to God, she was the worst. And I'll never forget it.
Wow.
I was in the emergency room with my husband. He had an issue after the surgery with some infection. And I remember her calling me on the phone, and I said, can I call you back? I'm in an emergency room with my husband. She goes, no, I need you to run down your deals right now. What's going on with each of your accounts?
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow. So, yeah. So you also learn as you go through your career, you don't want to work with people that don't have empathy, that don't understand that common sense sometimes prevails, because, you're not going to get me to give you a good story about my accounts when I'm standing there in an emergency room, not sure if my husband's going to live or not. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's sad when you hear that, because what that does is ultimately it speaks to culture. You can have all the policies that you want written down, but if you have an individual who says, that's, I'm sorry that you're in the emergency room, but FYI, can you just run through these real quick? They have no sense. This is where the common sense comment came. Like, they have no common sense. Like, you're like, let me just help you understand. Like,
I have found common sense to be the lack in my entire life. And that's why that word to me is so important. Because even when I was in high school, I had some friends that just did really dumb things. And there's no common sense. Your mom and dad are going to find out. So it's like,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess I said it earlier. I was a mother, and I was like in 9th grade. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So let me ask you this too. Did having to provide care, and I'm sure you were doing your normal 50, 60 hours a week and working for IBM, if you're lucky that it's that low. And then with your husband and with Mike and with Dolores, then you've got another minimum 40 hours a week, because you got weekends too. Like, you don't actually get a day off, Doreen. Like, you don't get a day off. And here, let me add in your boys. So you are respectfully juggling 4 individuals that because I know that like her boys are fantastic, and they have turned out to be amazing young men. We met, JJ and I had the opportunity to meet Christopher, and we're still waiting for Anthony judging. And so that's okay. We love you, Anthony, when we meet you. But how does that pressure impact you? And ultimately, did that have an impact on your career in your mind?
Yeah, I am so just me. I've never been one to act. I've never been one to get myself into different modes. When you're taught in cell school, right, to do that, right? You have to do the role playing kind of thing. I sucked at it because I always had to be real. Okay, you're just another instructor. You're not a real customer. How do I talk to you, right?
Right.
So I think I've always just done what I do. I've never looked back. I mean, my childhood was very wasn't the best childhood, right? But the father and all that stuff. But I think that I just always did what I had to do. And I'm a very much of a realistic person. And so I didn't think much about how it impacts, because I just keep on going. I don't stop. I don't stop to think. I don't stop to look back. And with my job, I was still getting excellent reviews, still getting more and more responsibilities, growing in the corporate chain, right? So from that perspective, I mean, everyone knew that, because I'm very open. I'm an open book about my mom and dad, but it never impacted. It didn't keep me down at any point in time. At least at IBM, it did not.
Isn't that interesting? Here's the thing. I don't know that, would you say that you even gave yourself permission to even not continue to grow and be successful? I mean, you're a very driven individual, and you're very success oriented, because you are very successful, Doreen. But I think about it. I mean, I'm shocked that you took 3 months off, because I could see your personality really not wanting to do that, but you had to kind of give that angle so that you could support them. But it was only 3 months, and you're caring for individuals with significant complex health issues.
And it was because of the person who recommended it to me too. I had a very high regard for this individual who was a very high executive at IBM. And what can I say? I mean, never would have thought of it, like I said, and it worked out really, really well. And when I came back, I went to a completely new team and started, it was refreshed. I didn't have to go back to the old team, nothing.
That's nice.
Great. Yeah. So it worked out. Again, certain companies I think are more capable of supporting those situations, right? If it was a small, medium business, I'm not so sure they would have been able to, because every individual carries so many hats, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think with IBM, it worked out well. But yeah, no, for me, I don't know, I enjoy work. So it's almost like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Love sitting on the beach, love sitting on my deck and, listening to my sons play the guitar, my other son singing, and 60s and 70s, all that music. But I very much enjoy work too. Yeah. And so I don't consider it a chore. I don't separate that on my life.
I guess my curiosity is, because you are so high energy, but do you think at any point during this whole journey, Doreen, that you've seen it impact your health or mentally? Is there a point where you said, I am breaking? I don't think I can take this anymore? Because you have it all together. Like it's like Doreen's got it all together, but is there a moment where you actually in the closet, you're hiding and saying, I'm cracking. I don't want anybody to know that I'm cracking, but I think I'm cracking. So did you hit that moment? Did you hit that wall?
Would you consider putting your head in a pillow and screaming bloody murder? Like,
yes,
that'll work. That works.
Yes.
Or jumping in your car and just driving to nowhere, just driving to right. Or going in the grocery store and just going down every freaking aisle, looking at every single thing.
Not buying anything.
Hi, me and Trader Joe's. I just walk around the aisles thinking like, maybe I'm someone else today.
Were those your self-care? I mean, are those methods that you said, I got to take care of myself? Maybe this will help me.
My worst one is going to TJ Maxx, and before you know it, it's $500 in that damn.
That's a confession, Doreen. That's a confession. My self-care is TJ Maxx.
Yeah, but I mean, you've been doing this. You're at this. I mean, because your mom progresses. Mike has had, and Mike ended up having several. He beat rectal cancer in the sense of it went into remission at a minimum, and then he has another cancer. I mean, so kind of move us along. Your mom, because we know with Parkinson's you regress. You don't ever get better, and then Mike is doing stuff. So kind of move us along there.
For mom, I mean, it definitely progresses. And, even though PT and OT, which by the way, I mean, that's something, if any insurance companies are listening to this podcast, we got to change the rules of engagement here, because Parkinson's, you're never going to get better. So after 8 sessions, you're not showing improvement. Guess what? Common sense. You're not going to have any improvement. You're just trying to slow the progression of Parkinson's.
Exactly.
Right.
So to change a PT every 8 weeks, that's what I did. I went from I had 3 different companies. 8 weeks, they're done because of insurance. Go to another one, It's a lot of extra work that's so unnecessary. But getting to your question. So so my mom progressed from a standpoint, we're now completely in a wheelchair. really have access to her legs pretty much. Her arms, she can still punch me if she wants. She got that firm grip that any good Italian mom does.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. And I ended up, I'll jump to the nursing home piece. So she's been at my house for almost 15 years. I started to travel again with the company I was with at the time. And my husband, because of his other cancers that he developed, he had bladder cancer, skin cancer, and the Crohn's decided to come back and haunt him a little bit more. So we had additional surgeries, a complete stomach replacement. So a lot of different surgeries going on there. During COVID, we were in Sloan, I think 3 separate times, 10 days each time for different surgeries. So I ended up putting my mother on the wait list, which was horrible for a nursing home. She could not do any of the assisted livings because she was too far in need of, there all the time. Make a long story short, there are a tremendous amount of nursing homes, but most I just can't fathom putting my mother in. The only one, she was on a 3-year wait list, and they called during COVID, and I said, gee, this is a tough one. No, I'm not bringing my mother to a nursing home during COVID. Which once again, I had my sons, they both moved back home during COVID, my husband. So I had the extra help. We were all working, all 4 of us. Can you imagine 4 Wi-Fis going in this house? It was great because my sons were here. So I was able to keep my mom at home. But then they started moving out. COVID's coming to an end. My mother I called the nursing home. They didn't have an opening. I called every day. I went and sat outside the office of the admissions officer. It was the only home. It was the poor Adrienne, another Italian lady, by the way. Adrienne, sorry, thank you. You are a saint to me. She finally calls me up. She says, I think I have a bed.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. So we brought mom in, and it was a rough start, very rough. She very much did not want to go, of course. And at that point, still aware. She's still aware to this day. Yeah. But certainly doesn't have a lot of her other faculties with her. So she's at the nursing home. We go almost every day, either my husband or I. And I also pay for an aide to go in during the middle of the day to get her outside, to help feed her, to entertain her, to do crafts, to do something, just not to be just sitting there. Because that's going to be one of my pet peeves in life, is to fix these nursing homes that think that just because you're sitting in a wheelchair, you don't need to be entertained.
And this is something, dear, when we've talked to you before, and then when we actually had the opportunity to visit Dolores and that home, it's a wonderful, the location at the facility itself is very nice, on a nursing home scale, Doreen, but your passion to make sure that your mom has that type of daily interaction, and to see what sometimes the lack of the facility's ability to provide that, or to just put them in a day room and sit them there. Because what I saw was that when we interacted with your mom, she did come to life instead of just leaving her there in the chair. But the fact that you have to, that is not covered by your insurance. That is,
let's be real clear.
You have to pay for that.
It's not covered.
Yeah.
And so, because your mom, of course, you all did the spin down, because that's what everybody has to do. Reality is that, and your mom is on a memory care unit. So I think that's really important to note, because your mom is now 92.
92.
Your mama is 92. We have met Dolores, everyone. And I've actually pushed Dolores up a hill in a wheelchair. And while Dolores is a smaller lady, I was sweating and it was very uncomfortable. And so I kept talking to Dolores about the fact that I was pushing. And so Dolores she's not a woman of many words. And so, but we had the best time. So the reality is, and this is a concern, I want to kind of step back for one sec. You have completely, and we've not been to many of our guest homes, but Doreen welcomed us with open arms a couple of weeks ago. And so we saw the renovations that you made. That was not an inexpensive renovation for your mom's home. Were you able to access any funding from the state to support that renovation to help your mom age in the community?
At that point in time, no.
Okay. And so you all have spent, I think maybe Mike was telling me it was probably like I don't want to speak in outside of turn, but do you think about $100,000?
You nailed it.
Okay. And so about $100,000 to keep move Dolores in. And so, and I know your mom didn't have tons of resource. So you all incurred that expense yourself.
Yes, I had one brother that did offer support.
Okay. And so there's some support there, which is kind. Do you all at this point then, and so you've got all the additional costs that come along with supporting another individual in your household. I don't believe that you're able, we've never talked about this, Jay. I don't believe you're able to count your mom off as a dependent, can you?
No, cannot.
So there's no tax incentive to support individuals to care for others in their home.
States are different. Some states may offer some of that.
Right. So in New Jersey, since we're not in New York, does not offer that. New Jersey legislators. And so then you all get to this point where you've got your mom going into nursing home. And I know that's not actually where you want your mom. I know you want your mom at your home. I know that. And she's nodding her head because you can't see her, but you want her in your home, and you are nobody, and I don't know if you feel guilt about that or not, Doreen, but I just want to say to you what you've done. She's like a lot. Okay, she just said a lot. You can't see her. Doreen, the fact that you were able to keep your mom in your home and the boys and Mike supported her for that long is a testament to love.
Hey, ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day. And the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the US and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
And I'm going to say that because Doreen's getting a little worked up now. And so the fact then, we add in the other components of having to hire somebody. And this is one of probably the best nursing homes in the state of New York, because she's in New York, but literally people like Doreen lives 5 minutes from New York. That's why I said, you're in New York.
And by the way, that's where having a caregiving cookbook would be nice, because I didn't know about certain services, know about things, and you kind of stumble across them, right? I mean, you could do a lot of surfing on the net and find that state by state things are very different. But there is support for respite, for example. I discovered accidentally that they actually will provide up to 30 days a year so that the caregiver can go away and have somebody come into the home and care for them, or put them in a nursing home, and it'll be covered, at least some of the.
Okay.
There are things that I think the state needs to do a better job of being able to communicate out to people.
Absolutely.
I think that's every state, Doreen. I would tell you that there's so many things, as you know, that we wish we had known for our mom, that I don't know if you feel the same way, but we found if you don't know the right questions to ask, they don't offer it freely.
Never. You have to ask all the questions, like even the partnership program. So when my mom was here the last 2 years, I was able to get funding from the state. Once I was able to get her onto Medicaid, then you had a lot more options. And so they were able to give a couple grand a month, which really helped out with the aides, right? So you have aides coming in to, because you're working, you're traveling, so you need somebody here to get mom out of bed, to get her showered, to get her, normal stuff. So it does add up, right? Because you could be spending, a grand or two a week. And if the state is at least giving you a grand or two, that's 1 week that you don't have to worry about.
That's so true. That is so true. So, I think this is a little different. but this is something I think is still important to talk about. And Mike, at some point, I think we'll have Mike come on and play because we love Mike. I'm sorry, we're like the Marchetti family. We just like we've made them. We've put our
we're Italian now.
We're now Italian. We're honorary Italians.
We're Italian.
So, Natalie ate my meatball and my lamb, and she does meat.
Don't tell anybody. Everybody knows I don't eat meat. And then I went to Doreen's and she made me eat lamb, and oh my God, it was so good. Anyway, so I want to say there was a time, Doreen, when you had the opportunity to go, I believe, to India, and that you were going to be gone for a month. And you all had planned for your mom to go to a skilled nursing facility because Mike wasn't really able to care for your mom because of his own medical complications, and the boys only had so much time. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I think that speaks a lot to your husband. I mean, it's your mom, it's not his mom. And so,
although the nursing home, little side story, at the nursing home, when I first brought him there the first week, the nurses kept on saying, "Oh, your father was here earlier with your mom."
Oh, please don't say that about Mike. Don't say that about Mike. He's very sensitive.
I love that story, of course.
Of course.
Okay. Yes, IBM awarded me the opportunity to do a corporate social responsibility project. So I was going to be in India for 4 weeks and 1 week in Nepal, and something I've always wanted to do. And of course, it is a life-changing opportunity to do that. And there's no way I want to turn that down. However, 15 grand to put my mother into a respite situation for the month. And so I did ask my brothers for some help, and the response was, "Oh, there's plenty of poor people in the United States. You can stay home and do it there." So I didn't get any help from the family. You may want to edit that, but that's it.
No, we're keeping
no
that
editing
there. You know what? Choices are choices, and you got to own them.
Yes, that's true. And so that's when I discovered this respite situation in our county. And it was so bizarre. I can't remember. Somebody in my street just mentioned it, went and met with them, had to apply for it. We got $5 grand a month. And so then one of the PT ladies that was coming in and giving my mother PT, she says, "You know, my mom might be interested in helping your mom." She comes to my house. She's Argentinian by descent, lovely lady. She's in her 70s. At this point, my mother's in her late 80s. So she came every day for those 4 weeks that I was gone and took care of my mom. And I just wrote the check for the $5 grand right over to her. And it was simply amazing. So the thing was, though, she, didn't want to live here. Of course, she had her own husband and all. So we got the Nest camera, and we put the camera in the room. And so she would just be watching it in the morning. And when she see my mother stir, because sometimes my mother would sleep in. Parkinson's people.
Oh, no schedule.
Differently. Some are early risers, late risers. My mother was all over the board. So sometimes she'd come at 10, sometimes 11, sometimes 12. And she would help my mother. She would bathe her, do everything. Because my husband couldn't lift at that point with his surgeries. So that's how the state ended up helping me through this cycle of helping my mom, which also then helped Nora to get some extra money in her hands. And also, she just was so wonderful. To this day, I still get birthday cards from her. Isn't that beautiful?
I love that. Well, and I think part of it was the part that's so interesting that Mike shared this with me during our stay was, and I think you did as well, Doreen, is that that you had taken her to the respite facility and everything looks good up front. And then Mike was going to visit. So here's the thing, Doreen's out of the country and Mike is visiting. And I think it was in the first 48 hours when he went, they were not able to meet her needs. And Mike said, "I'm taking her home."
Oh.
And he didn't even hesitate. Like, "I'm not leaving mom here." And it's not his mom.
Yeah. So the situation was, she can't feed herself. Her hands are like this. So she has to be fed. And she had a roommate because, with Medicaid, you always have roommates. And the roommate told my husband that, "Oh yeah, they brought the breakfast this morning. They left it on the table in front of her and they left." So of course, my mom, she's trying to feed herself. She can't, and food's all over the floor.
Oh, wow.
She's slouched over trying to pick it up and clean up because, she's a homemaker. And it was just pathetic. And they told us that she was there for hours before they came back in.
Yeah. And so Mike took her home, and this lady, our Argentinian friend,
Laura.
not only was only supposed to be doing some limited, and she knew that Mike needed help, and she basically just moved in. And I'm going to tell you, that is such a blessing. Like that is, and so Doreen, you were able to participate and do something for you. And I think this is important, is that caregivers don't have to give up their lives. You're still allowed to do something you personally want to do. And I really do think the right thing happens and when it needs to happen.
Yeah. And that was to me such a big thing. Not every day do you get to go spend a month with a company, supporting you and paying for you.
Exactly.
I was helping underprivileged children in the slums with the education programs.
Yeah.
It was just so rewarding. And we also worked with children that had cerebral palsy that were also in the slums. And you just have to see that to know that, wow, we have it so good in life. So it was really amazing. And I was there with 18 other IBMers. And to this day, we still get together on Zooms and do calls. And it's another family. And we got to see babies born and marriages. And it's
I love it.
But yes, that respite program is so important, but also who you find to be the respite supporter. So I've also, in my day with my mom, I've gone through 7 or 8 different aides, nurses, whatever you want to call it, agencies. With all due respect, I tend to have less of a luck with the agency people. They didn't show, or more times on the cell phone, less time, caring for mom, than when you can find that personal person who really has a passion for taking care of whether it's a senior or a child or whoever. Yeah. So try to find the right connection, the right person. And by the way, it might not be the right connection for me, but it's got to be the right connection for
your mom.
My mom.
Important.
How do you think during all of this, because we've talked a little about Mike, but your boys, who again, Natalie and I have said we think they're wonderful, Christopher, who we've met.
We love you, Christopher.
How do you think, because this started at an earlier age for them, they're in their teens, but these are boys that are caring for their grandmother, but a female, and she does have some higher level needs. I watched Christopher, just for someone, they were bringing her in because she did visit, Dolores visited and had dinner with us twice during our stay, but he's helping you with her, transfer her from wheelchairs up the steps. How do you think, Doreen, as the mom and seeing this, how do you think it's impacted your boys' lives?
Oh, completely. There is such a level of empathy that they will carry for the rest of their lives. And it's interesting because even when we're out and about, if somebody is struggling with something, my sons will go right up to them and ask if they could use help. So I think they're very aware of other people and their needs. And, because kids can be very self-centered, right? I mean, when you're a child, you only think about yourself. But I think they learned very early in life, and even with their father, right? So Michael had a lot of surgeries all through their lives when they were younger. And you just become much more aware of the needs of others. Yeah. So, and of course, the big thing is, my friends tell me, "Oh, you're set. You have 2 people are going to take care of you today." and I said, "Well, it all depends on who they end up with."
Do you think at any point do you have any regret, or do you feel that there's time that you dedicated to your mom that your boys missed out on? Have they, we've had people have said, I felt like caregiving took so much of my time away from children's time or a spouse's time. Do you look back at any of that and have any regrets regarding that, or?
Probably more for the spouse, because we didn't go out on, evenings for dinners, and we didn't really do much of that. But you know what? We just took my mom everywhere. So for the football games, for the baseball games, for the graduations, for anything, we just took her along. And people would say, "Well, how do you get her there? How do you just make it work?" My favorite one, of course, is my mother was 89 years old, had never been to a concert in her entire life. We had tickets to go see a very, very famous band. And one of the friends of my son canceled, so we had an extra ticket. So instead of leaving mom home with a babysitter, we brought her. Guess what her first concert was?
What?
The Rolling Stones.
Okay, that's awesome.
Dolores.
Oh, Dolores. And how old was your mom at that time, Doreen?
89 years old. And so they had no more room in the wheelchair section. So they put us in the club room, my mother and I. And that's the other thing I couldn't. Okay, so that's a regret. I couldn't sit with my children and my husband at the concert, but that's okay. My mom and I were, she's in a wheelchair. She was rocking. She was, and you know, when Mick Jagger starts to shake, I mean, he gets everybody shaking, including Parkinson's. I mean,
that's awesome.
Oh my, you know what? Well, and you know, music is so stimulating neurologically. And so, you know, I think that's the thing is that you don't like, I know we're getting close. So you don't have to stop living. And nor does the person you're caring for have to start living as they continue to age. We're all going to age. We don't suddenly lose interest in doing things. And I know your mom is at this point very limited. She's very choosy about what she says because her mom, Doreen's mom, doesn't really speak. But she lets you know very clearly from her facial expressions and even the reach, because we got to spend a good amount of time with Dolores. She lets you know what she likes and doesn't like. And I don't think even for individuals who are not able to verbally express their needs, they still let you know, and they don't want to stop living.
That's exactly right.
You know, it's funny because at the home, I've met other siblings, other children of residents there. And everyone wants to start because I bring my mother home almost every weekend. Right. I just want her to have my Italian cooking. I want her to be on the deck with the fresh air. I want her to hear the birds. I want her out of the nursing home. And it's getting harder and harder, you know, but we're going to keep on going until it's done. I had a woman say that her sibling said there's no way they could ever take their dad out of the home. It's just impossible. I go, why? Why is it impossible? And she said, I would love to take him out to a restaurant for his birthday. Well, then do it. She says, there's no way I can do that. I go, why? Why can't you do it? And you know what she did? She did everything I said. Go rent a van, put the wheelchair in it, take him to the restaurant. Take him to a restaurant that's wheelchair accessible. Her brother and sister were so mad at her. She took him. She said it was a time of his life. He was smiling. He was so happy. He passed away a month later. Think about that.
Wow. You know, and I think that's the thing that we want to keep going to. And I know we have to get to sister questions because we're there at that time. And so, but I think that's really important. Like there's a huge takeaway. You don't stop living as you age. You don't stop living with every complex health illness or disability. You don't have to stop living. And I think that's really important. So I want to jump in. JJ, what is your sister question? What is your sister question for Doreen?
Okay. Doreen, common sense. So facilities sometimes drive me crazy as well. One, maybe two common sense things that if you could say it to any administrator at a facility, what would it be?
Stimulate your residents and provide water.
Oh.
Because you're now in a wheelchair doesn't mean you don't drink water anymore.
Yeah. And I think this is important to know, especially with Parkinson's. Our mom is the same way. Our mom has, what we found, and it's so odd, you know, for individuals who have limited mobility, that water, that consumption helps keep your body going, and it helps keep you healthy, and it reduces illness. And here's the thing, if you can't verbally say I'm thirsty, then why do you think that they're not thirsty? So
it is.
I know water has been an issue, and it is such a human right, in my opinion. You have a right to have water on your person, so that or assistance.
Absolutely. So yeah. So those are my two common sense, JJ, for the nurse.
Stimulate and engage, water. Yeah. I like it. Engage. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many more things there's so many more things that Doreen has done, and I'm going to put them, I want to include them in the show notes, Doreen, because there's little things that you've done in the nursing facility to help staff, because the facility also relies on additional staffing agencies, because we all know in this day and age we're having a hard time staffing. And so Doreen has done some really great things, like putting up your mom's preferences, the way that she has put her mom's clothes. She even does like this, wear these outfits if this is the temperature, wear these outfits. Here's where all the clothes go. There's some really good common sense things that you've done to help your mom have a good experience in the nursing home, but also to help the direct care staff be successful. And Doreen, I would love for you to share those because I think people will really appreciate them. I never thought of them for our mom, and I think they would be great for others.
Okay.
But my last question is the favorite one, and I have 2 minutes. What is your favorite guilty pleasure?
Okay. All right. My guilty pleasure is I'm kind of a boring person overall, right? So I just kind of enjoy my guilty pleasure is sitting on my deck with a nice glass of red wine, fire pit on, but I must have my sons there. One plays the guitar, one sings, and we go down this memory lane of the 60s and 70s, and we just are belting out the music, and it just feels so good. Everything disappears to me, or it could be on the beach, by the way.
We don't discriminate.
Yeah,
it sounds like having your family around you is
family.
Your bucket.
It's
family. I'm so sad they're not here, but you know,
it's family.
I love it. Doreen, I can't thank you enough. Here's the thing. We love Doreen. We love all of our guests. We love Doreen, and you don't have to bring us to your house and feed us, which although that does help. And Zach and Phyllis came too. So if you look back on our Facebook page, you'll see a big family gathering of individuals who did not know each other 10 months ago. 10 months ago, we did not know each other, and now we are all family, and it is because of caregiving. And I am better for knowing Doreen and Mike and the boys and Dolores especially. And so, Doreen, thank you for blessing us today because you are an absolute amazing woman, and you set the example. You set a really great example.
You do, Doreen.
Let me know if I could be of help anytime. You know that.
Oh, I love it. All right, Jay, you want to close us out?
Well, Doreen.
On Friday.
Exactly. We again are that Doreen, thank you so much. And you'll hear more from Doreen as she has one more part to the story of her escapades, I'm going to call it, at the nursing facility with 2 more friends. So stay tuned for another episode with Doreen later this month.
All right, guys, thanks so much and for listening in, and we will see you next time when we confess again. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, JJ.